Hello. I recently decided here at Primal Woods to expand the sawmill business to include what's commonly referred to as an Alaskan sawmill or an Alaskan chainsaw mill. I'd just run into, when I was on other jobs or quoting jobs, logs that are either too big or too misshapen to be milled with the wood miser. So there are several parts to that, and I'll go through them, and then I think I'll make another video on the assembly of the Alaskan sawmill. So the power for the sawmill comes from a chainsaw power head. This happens to be the biggest chainsaw power head that Husqvarna makes. It's a 3120 XP chainsaw power head. Typically comes with about a 42-inch bar, so that would certainly be enough to fell very large trees, at least 3 feet in diameter. This saw is almost 9 horsepower. That's a lot of horsepower to have in your hands. I got it without the bar because part of the equipment necessary to turn that power head into an Alaskan sawmill includes a 56-inch bar. So I will start. I'll just go over what I've got laying out here on the floor so far. This power head that I mentioned, that came with an instruction manual. Came with some oil. Basically, it's a 50-to-1 mix, gas to oil in chainsaws. Some grease. This is used on the tip of the bar in, at least in Husqvarna chainsaws. Some chainsaws don't have lubrication for the gear, or a greased lubrication for the gear that's out at the tip of the bar. Husqvarna does. Some tools, assembly and disassembly, a couple of Allen wrenches. This is your standard, what's called a chainsaw tool. Basically a couple of box end wrenches, different sizes, plus a flathead. Useful for disassembling and reassembling the chainsaw, as well as tightening the chain. Same thing, but a smaller one. A couple of box ends, plus an Allen head wrench on it, and then a straight up Allen wrench. These are wedges. So when you're using an Alaska mill, or the wood miser for that matter, the wood that you're cutting it off the top of the log. And so on these very large logs, that wood that you've cut will have a tendency to pinch the bar and blade of the saw as you move through the log. And so with these 4, I'll have 8 of these wedges, which will allow me to place the wedges in the kerf, which is basically where it's the material that the mill removes, in the kerf, to make sure that the top portion of the log is not pinching the blade and the bar on the sawmill. Also, got a 153 link spare chain for the mill. It would take me some time to sharpen this in the field, so I like to have at least 2 for this. That way I think I can get through a day of sawing without having to sharpen a blade. Okay, so some of this came from Bailey's, which is an online source for loggers. The power head came from my local hardware store up in Bangor, Michigan, Landers Hardware. Okay, now this is box, well, I'll go to this one. This is box 1 from Bailey's. So Bailey's sells the Granberg Alaskan sawmill. I'm expecting to find in here that 56-inch bar that I talked about, plus some rails for the sawmill. this box is labeled 48-inch Alaskan Mark III thickness rails and handle. So these are parts that actually build the mill, or make a mill out of a chainsaw. Okay, no instructions or anything in there. Nothing else in this box. Actually, on these big Alaskan sawmills, you can actually have a power head on each end of the bar. I chose not to do that. I think this power head is definitely big enough. Okay. Well, let's just say that's a big bar for a chainsaw. The other thing that's noticeable about this, as I said, you mount a power head at both ends. And that's what, these grooves and holes back here, that's where a chainsaw power head mounts. Normally at the far end, so let's say I mounted it like this to the power head. Okay, so if I mounted it like this to the power head, out here would be a bearing that this grease is used to lubricate. As well, the blade itself is lubricated by an oiler on the chainsaw itself, on the power head. Okay, so we'll put that there. That's pretty substantial. It's clearly made out of steel and not aluminum. Nothing else in that package. Okay, package number 2 from Bailey's. More tinder. Okay, so what do I have in here? So basically I have a packing list. I have a 2015 Logasol calendar. Okay, I have the chainsaw chain, the blade that came with the sawmill. So that makes 2. Okay. Here we have, okay, this is called a slabbing rail bracket. And then these are, it just says C2 parts kit. So another piece of a rail and some other, those are, looks like a combination of aluminum. All these rails are aluminum. This feels like steel. Okay, save that for later. Okay, and then we have a box, model G776 Alaskan Mark III milling attachment. Okay, so here I've got assembly and instructions list from Granberg, and then more of the hardware necessary to put the mill together. Also, just on the cover of this box, kind of a teaser thing. This kind of shows how the mill is put together and how it actually clamps onto the bar of the chainsaw and then guides the saw blade through large logs. So I will be doing an assembly video of that. Okay, this says auxiliary oiler kit. Okay, so you'll remember I said out at the far end of the bar, normally there's a gear out there that is lubricated by this grease pump. basically every time you gas up the saw, you would pump a little grease onto that gear or into that gear. But on this case, there is no gear out there, but you have a very long bar, and to support or to enhance the oiler function of the power head itself, you install a gravity powered, I'll call it. So basically, above the blade, there will be this oil tank out at the far end of the blade. This will be filled with lube, chain lube, and then it will drain down, and basically just a drip feed onto the blade. Okay, so that's part of what, or another piece of the mill itself. And finally, this box says helper handle with roller. So again, large logs up to 4 feet across, which is that's just a monster as far as I'm concerned. This gadget is to allow a second person to join the sawyer basically in guiding the saw through the log. So this is the helper handle. I have to admit, I don't know exactly how all this will go together until I put it together. Let's see, what do we have here? Warranty card, it looks like. And then another sheet of instructions for how to attach the helper handle onto the end of the chainsaw bar. So all of these two boxes that I just opened, the long flat box that had the blade in it, and these rails, together with the oiler, the helper handle, and the other parts that are in this box, those all came in a kit, a Granberg mill kit that came from Bailey's. So laying here is what I need to make slabs and to basically mill completely logs up to 4 feet in diameter. And as far as the length is concerned, there's really no limit to the length of the log that I can mill with this setup. Disadvantages of a chainsaw mill are it has a wide kerf, only an 1/8 of an inch kerf. On the wood miser, this kerf will be at least 1/4 of an inch, probably 3/8 of an inch of wood that is basically being ground into sawdust as you cut the slabs. So with that, I'll say thank you for watching, and please look forward to the assembly video. All for now.